Hello, everybody. I'm here to read a book with you again today. So the book we're going to read today is called Zaha Hadid. And that Z sound at the beginning tells me it's a Z, which is all the way at the end of the alphabet. So I know it's at the bottom of my shelves here. Yep, there it is. I actually think I'm going to stay here today for reading. I feel pretty comfortable on the floor. So like I said, today's book is called Zaha Hadid. And as always, before we begin, we're going to do 3 things to help get our brains ready. I'm going to ask you a question that will help you better understand the character in the story. We're going to talk about a word that will help you understand the story a little bit better. And we're going to talk about the book's genre. Then, of course, we'll move on to the front cover and begin reading. So the question that will help you better understand the story today is this question. Have you ever built something? Have you ever built something, maybe with blocks, maybe with Legos, maybe you've made it with paper? Have you ever built something? I built lots of things, but the story I think I want to tell today is that one time in class during Plan and Do, Evan and I built a Minecraft zombie together using definitely paper, and I can't remember which material we used to connect the paper together. I think it was tape, but we built a Minecraft zombie using, I think, tape and paper. So if you ever built something, think about that for a moment. And if you're able, pause this video and talk to someone near you about the time that you did, the time that you built something. Great. Thinking about that will help you better understand the character in this story who builds lots of things. Now, a word that will help us better understand the story is, I say, you say, architecture. Let's clap that word out. Ready, set, clap. Architecture. Let's be like a robot. Ready, set, robot. Architecture. Let's chicken it. Ready, set, chicken. Architecture. Let's wizard it. Architecture. And let's always count it. Ready, set, count. Architecture. How many parts to that word? 4 parts to the word architecture. Now, architecture is a word that is used to describe people whose job it is to draw, plan, and build buildings. Okay? And that word will help you better understand this story. The genre of this book is nonfiction, meaning the author wrote it to teach us something new and true. And this book is a biography. That's a special kind of nonfiction that teaches us about somebody's life who really lived. And the person who this book is about is called Zaha Hadid. So let's move to the front cover and see about some of Zaha's identities. Since she was a real person, I can tell you some things that my brain knows about her. My brain knows that Zaha Hadid's gender identity is a woman. Her age in this book, she's going to start as a kid and become a grown-up. Her ancestors' identity is that her ancestors are from Iraq. Her language identity is that she's multilingual, meaning she speaks more than one language. Zaha Hadid speaks Arabic and English. And then her spirituality identity is that she's Muslim. So let's begin. Zaha Hadid by Maria Isabel Sanchez Vergara and illustrated by Asun Amar. Little Zaha was a Muslim girl who lived with her family in Baghdad, a city where past and present mixed in the most amazing ways. From an early age, Zaha dreamt about the future. The author gave us some information about her family identity on this page. We see her, but then we also see her parents, and we see that she has 2 other kids in her family. Zaha had her own taste, and she liked doing things her way. When she was 7, she started designing clothes, and soon she was working on bedroom furniture too. I wonder if these clothes hanging here are clothes that she designed herself. Designed means that you planned it to be made. Zaha attended a prestigious Catholic school where children of all religions were welcome. Her favorite classes were math and art. I hear the author describing the classmates' spirituality identity. They all have different beliefs about how the world works. One summer, Zaha and her family traveled to Rome. There, she discovered that the walls and ceilings of museums were works of art too, just like the statues and paintings in the museums. When she was old enough, Zaha went to boarding school. That means a school where you don't live with your family, where everyone else learned to ski, but she preferred to stay in her room, drawing floating spaces that no one had ever seen before. In college, she studied math, and then she moved to London to get a master's in architecture, where everyone found her quite unusual. A good reader will remember that architecture is a word that describes people who build, plan, and design buildings. Zaha's ideas were new, and she amazed her teachers with building designs that were not squares or rectangles, but curved shapes. I hear the author saying that Zaha uses lots of curves in her designs for buildings and plans, and that most other people were making them with straight lines. When she graduated, Zaha remained at the school as a teacher. She challenged her students to be curious about forms and materials, just like the great architect Oscar Niemeyer. She had to wait 10 long years until the first of her buildings was completed. It was a fire station made of heavy concrete that looked as light as a paper bird. I notice the illustrator is showing us that folded paper origami inspired the way she designed this building. Zaha experimented with form, designing buildings that looked like giant waves cresting on a shore made of concrete. She convinced the best engineers to challenge machinery and build what was thought to be unbuildable. I hear some people thought that Zaha's plans couldn't be made, but she proved that they could. From Beirut to Beijing, Zaha's curvy buildings changed the skylines of cities forever, creating her own map of what the future might look like. And she was never afraid to use computer programs and technology that no one else had dared to use before. She changed the way that people thought about women, especially an Arab woman, in an industry run by men. Zaha brought a sense of femininity to the architecture world. Her colleagues called her the Queen of the Curve. I hear the author and the illustrator showing us that most of the other architects were white men, and Zaha stopped that untrue story, showing that women could do that job too. Zaha made it to the cover of magazines as one of the most famous architects. She was the first woman and the first Muslim to be awarded the Pritzker Prize, which is the highest prize you can win in architecture. I notice she's become very famous. And little Zaha, the Queen of the Curve, became one of the most successful architects of her time, a true pioneer who dreamt of the future and who dared to build the impossible. As always, friends, I have a good reader question for the end of the story, and the good reader question for this story is this. What made Zaha's buildings special? What made her buildings special and unique? Think about that for a minute, remembering that a good answer will use evidence from the text, meaning you'll say, Zaha's buildings were special because, and I know that when the author said, or the author wrote, or the illustrator drew. Okay, so think about that for a moment. And if you're able, pause this video and talk to someone near you about what made Zaha's buildings special. Great. Remember that answering good reader questions makes your brain a little bit better of a reader. Now, my answer to that question is Zaha's buildings were special because she used curved shapes and curved lines when other people were using straight lines and straight shapes like squares or rectangles. And I know that because the author said that she used curved shapes right here. And I see the illustrator showed us everybody else's buildings look different. So that's what made her buildings special. Last thing we're going to do today is our idea web. As always, when we're reading nonfiction, a way to make our reading brain smarter at the end is to finish an idea web. Now, an idea web always has the topic, or what the book was mostly about, in the middle, and then space for you to write the details, the new and true things that you learned, on the outside. So the topic of this book, what this book was mostly about, was definitely, you can read it with me if you want, Zaha Hadid. That's what the book was about. Now I have to think about what were new and true things that I learned that I didn't know about her before. So I know that I learned lots of things about Zaha Hadid in this book, but one of the things I learned was that she used computers to help her design. Now, I know that because the illustrator drew a computer here, and also because the author said she was never afraid to use computer programs. So one of the new and true things I learned about her was she used computers to help her. She used computers to help her. I'm going to finish my idea web with words today. So the first word is the word she. That's a basketball word. Ready, set, dribble. S-H-E spells she. Use is a basketball word too. U-S-E. Ready, set, dribble. U-S-E spells use. She used computer, not a basketball word, so I'm just going to have to write the sounds I hear. Computer. She used computers, more than one. I'm going to add an S at the end. To help. To, that's a basketball word. Ready, set, dribble. T-O spells to. And then help. Not a basketball word, so I'm going to make the sounds. Ready, set, sounds. Help. So I hear help. Good. As a good writer, I'm going to go back and read what I have written. Ready, set, read. She used computers to help. That's one of the new and true things I learned about Zaha Hadid. I have space to put more new and true things, more details that I learned about Zaha Hadid in my idea web. And I'd like for you to do that today. Finish your own idea web about Zaha Hadid. You can do your idea web with words, describing the topic and details of the book, writing it with words like I did, or drawing pictures to show the ideas of the new and true things you learned about. When you're done with your idea web, send it to your teacher so we can see what your reading brain thinks.